Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we basically finalized the design of our vehicle that's going to take Kerbals over to Duna. But we're not quite ready to launch it yet because we need a couple things. First off, we need more Kerbals. So I'm going to hire 5 brand new Kerbals. We want to have at least 1 pilot, but everything else is just going to be kind of random. So that's 1, 2, 3... we're at our maximum of 12 Kerbals. Okay. We need to, I believe, upgrade our astronaut complex then. There we go. So that's fine. So this is 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. These are the ones we're going to send. They have no experience. I'm aware of this. I believe that affects their productivity, but I don't care. We're fine. We're fine. So there's all of our Kerbals good to go at this point, but we need a good transfer window. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use MechJeb to calculate when this transfer window is going to be. So what we need to do is we need to open up our crew delivery system here. That's the autosave version. I'm going to go with this version because I did make a couple of tweaks to try to fix the angling on these tanks after last episode ended. I don't think I nailed it, but it's better. We'll go with that. It's better. So at this point, what we need to do is we need to save this and put this out on the pad, but we need to make sure we have the correct crew in this. So we're not going to be bringing these Kerbals. We're going to be bringing these Kerbals. And we want to make sure that Geary is piloting. There we go. We might want to toss in a remote guidance unit, to be honest, just in case. I think that's not a bad idea. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just put in an extra small remote guidance unit right there. There we go. So that'll solve that problem, if it is indeed ultimately a problem. But with a 0 skill pilot, that means that we can't do things like set certain attitudes. We'd just use MechJeb for it anyway, so let's just make this have a remote pilot. That'll be absolutely fine. Not a big deal there. Otherwise, I believe we didn't have an issue with detaching. Well, I don't think we tested detaching this. These might be clipped together a little bit here, and to that end, I want to just drop these down a smidge, about like that. And I'm also noticing that these struts are not connected. So this should be in quad symmetry, like that. Slight clippage down here now, so I'm going to go into move mode, and we're going to have snap off, and I'm just going to move this up a little bit here. There we go. Now we've got solid clearance everywhere except here. That's potentially an issue, but I think it's probably fine. But we can test it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to save this, and we're going to put this out on the pad. This is going to be a simulation here because we need to determine when to do our launch, right? So we need to absolutely do that. And this is going to be, we want to at least roughly guesstimate it, right? So I'm going to put this up in a circular orbit above Kerbin, and then we're going to use MechJeb to do a transfer plan. And that should give us when the next window is. Approximately. Anyway. So that'll be fine. We've got plenty of extra DV if we don't get it perfect. But I want to do some decoupling testing as well. So let's just go ahead and put ourselves up in orbit real quick here. We don't care about what orbit we're in, just a circular orbit. There we go. And at this point, I'm going to decouple these. We're going to revert this. So I'm going to decouple that. I'm going to decouple this. And then I'm going to decouple these. It kicks a little bit, but it should be fine. Okay, so that's good to know. Now what we need to do is we need to do, let's see here. It's one of these. I forget where it is. It's a rendezvous planner, perhaps? Select the target to rendezvous with. This is going to be a transfer plan, I think. I don't think this is what I'm looking for, but let's go ahead and set Duna as our target. Rendezvous target must be in the same sphere of influence. Yeah, so that's not the one. Maneuver planner? Yes, this is what it is. Advanced transfer to other planet. And let's go ahead and create this node. Computation not finished. Okay. So we have to give this a moment to compute, I think. And we would want this to be the lowest delta V, ideally. I'm not sure if this is actually doing anything. Okay, max arrival time. We know that we have, like, 600 days. So that's going to be, like, 1 year, 150 days-ish. About like that. So that's a lot of DV. But that does give us that transfer. It's a terrible transfer. So let's go ahead and go to the pork chop selection. This is now apparently computed. And let's get rid of this guy. Smart ASS can go to off. And we can create node. Invalid point selected. Okay, so we need to select something on the pork chop graph, which is not appearing. Ah, there we go. Okay, so here we can see the red areas are higher DV, and the lower DV areas are like this blue area. So this is absolutely the kind of area where we want to be. This is departure in 1 year, 130 days. This one down over here is similar. So 1 year, 100 days is about how far forward we need to warp. So let's go ahead and pull this back to the launch. And we can set a timer to be 1 year and 100 days in the future. We can have an extra 20 days of wait time, or we can just burn the extra DV. It doesn't really matter. But we want relatively low transit time, and I think that was saying that we were going to have about 400 days of transit time, which is like 2/3 of our food. So that's absolutely fine. So at this point, what we want to do is we want to create a new alarm, and the time to alarm should be 1 year and 110 days and no minutes. Okay, we'll add that alarm, and then we'll warp to that. I want to make sure all of our Kerbals are correct. Yes? Okay, so now we're going to warp forward. Oh, that's going to be horrible. Oh, that's almost worse. Okay, there we go. This is better. Fantastic. So this is going to be a little bit of a warp time, no doubt about it. We shouldn't be eating up our life support here. And let's see, our electric charge is at 0 at this moment, but our other life support is all absolutely fine. So that looks good. We are not consuming food or oxygen while on the pad. So that's what I want to see. That's absolutely great. How long until this is over? Okay, this is going to be a while yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel the warp for the time being. And I'm going to extend out these solar panels. If we were clever, we would have the clamps on this that would provide us with power flow, but this will work just as fine. So warp next at this point, and now... Oh, that's horrible. Now we are absolutely going to have power, and that is fine. So... I'm not going to make you sit through the rest of this. It's going to be a pretty lengthy warp. See you guys in just a moment. Okay, so here we are in what is theoretically a much better transfer window. We've still got about a day to warp forward here. And there's the sunrise. Excellent. And there's our warp just about ending. Let's go ahead and retract these photovoltaic panels. We are not going to want them extended, but we did want to have some amount of power here. So let's go ahead and do that. Fantastic. So we'll delete and close that alarm. And at this point, I'm just going to use the MechJeb Ascent here. We're going to target it exactly like this. We can... Don't bother with skipping circularization. In fact, it can probably auto-stage, but I'll manually stage it just to be sure. I don't fully trust MechJeb. You may have noticed. So we can have it auto-warp. That's absolutely fine. And we are then going to engage the autopilot here. And we're now awaiting liftoff. We can go at any point at this juncture. We should now be in a decent transfer window. And the transfer window will last for a number of days. So this is probably not like peak efficiency in the window, but it's pretty good, which is good enough. Let's get out of here. That's interesting. My left ear is very enjoying these rocket sounds. I'm looking at OBS here, and I'm seeing the left channel is definitely louder than the right channel. I don't know what's up with KSP with that one. That's a little odd. I'm getting the same experience you are, I believe. So, well, hopefully that'll stop after we get rid of the SRBs. That would be the dream. Of course, we are currently running out of fuel in these side boosters for our liquid fuel, but that's absolutely expected. And the SRBs are going to continue burning for a while here. This is, by the way, unsimulated, this launch. We are, at this point, we expect this launch to be ready to go and completely good. So, if we run into problems, we'll run into problems. And we'll have to do something about it. Although, I think that in an abort scenario, the chutes we've got on this should be able to safely return them back to Kerbin. But I don't anticipate an abort scenario at this time. Everything is looking nominal. So our SRBs here are going to be out of fuel shortly. They've still actually got a decent amount of fuel here. 10 more seconds of fuel. Cool. And that's looking absolutely fine for now. What's our thrust to weight here? Almost 3? Wow, okay. So that seems good. Our apoapsis height is pushing 30 kilometers. I'm not tracking any issues at this moment. We'll need to stage here in 2, 1, and... there we go. Yeah, I don't know why the left channel is only playing this engine audio. That's very strange. But it should be fine? I don't know. Maybe the game needs a restart or something. It's not a huge deal, regardless. So we're just going to continue punching up to space here, and then I'm probably going to manually do the transfer over to Duna. I just wanted to use MechJeb's transfer planner for the timing of this. It's just much more convenient to use that. No doubt about that. So at this point, our apoapsis height is looking decent, and we're currently heading over towards the horizon. This is all completely expected and very, very according to plan at this juncture. Our apoapsis height is still within the atmosphere at this point, but this is... I would be at the horizon right now. I would be burning at the horizon at this moment. So MechJeb is actually a little above the horizon still, but I would be getting pure horizontal speed right now. I think the reason is because MechJeb watches this time to apoapsis and continues to nose down towards the horizon as long as it's going up, and it was holding there for a moment. I think that's why it didn't quite make it all the way over. But I would definitely be burning pure horizontal at this moment. There's still a little bit of vertical here going on, but it's absolutely fine. We've got about 40 seconds of burn time left here, but that's plenty to get us up into orbit here, or almost orbit. We just need to take that apoapsis up to 150, and it's going to start rapidly increasing here, so that looks good. 92, 93, 94, 95, yeah, that's going to go up faster and faster. Everything's looking great there. So, absolutely nominal ascent, which we expected. There's not really going to be any major issues here that I'm aware of. There's the solar panels being extended and the antenna. We're now fine-tuning that apoapsis. It really likes to kick back upwards there, and I guess that's fine. We're now going to be heading over towards the node there. We're not warping, which is a little surprising to me. Coasting to circularization burn, but I'm surprised it's not physics warping this. I'll physics warp it. Because we need to get into position over here. And once we're in position, then we can time warp it. Because we've got another 5 minutes here, so that's absolutely okay. We have no thrust to weight issue on this thing. Is MechJeb going to auto warp this? No? Well, I'm going to auto-warp it, then. Let's do this. I'm surprised this auto-warp is doing nothing right now. Okay, now it's warping a little bit closer. Cool. I didn't do that. So that's absolutely okay. 3, 2, 1, 0, and here goes our circularization. So that's all great. MechJeb absolutely doing its job there. We're not surprised by that necessarily, but let's just get this finished. The autopilot actually should be disengaged at this point. Okay. Overshot it a little bit. I don't care. It's fine. So at this point, we are going to be angling to bring ourselves over to Duna. So let's go ahead and add a maneuver sometime around here. Is this a correct directionality? Let's find out. Yes, it is. Okay, so if we set Duna as our target, you can see right there, we are pretty close, actually. I'm going to zoom in over here, and we're going to adjust this timing ever so slightly. So if we bring this back over here, oh yeah, look at that. So that's a nice transfer. I'm not entirely certain how this is going to go, though, because we need to have our focus be on Duna, open up the maneuver node here, and we might need to do some adjustment here. Oh yeah, this needs a little adjustment. So let's go ahead and bring this up slightly. There we go. And we should be aligning to this node. And we're coming in on this side and going out on this side, which means we're going prograde. So that looks good. And then we just need to dial in the altitude of this. The timing isn't perfect, but we're not shocked about that. Just changing a little bit of radial here. Ooh, okay, that's an Ike encounter. Which is, of course, awkward. We might just have to accept something like this and then adjust it later. It'll work. It's not perfect, but that'll work for sure. So this burn is going to be in about 5 minutes, and that's wonderful. And then we'll be arriving here in actually only 204 days. So that's really, really solid. That is the power of the transfer window. We've been ignoring transfer windows up until this point. You shouldn't ignore transfer windows, by and large. But we do need to activate our carbon extractor. We need to activate our water recycler as well. Where is that? Here's the water purifier. Okay, so that's fine, and we'll just be consuming food. Our oxygen is going to be sitting at maximum, theoretically. But actually, I'm noting that our water is at maximum, but our oxygen is actually maybe getting slightly consumed. That's okay. We should have plenty at this point. So that's not a big deal. Let's go ahead and warp forward the 5 minutes to this burn point. And we can just keep an eye out here. Yeah, so very slight consumption of oxygen. Water is holding. So we have infinite water. That's absolutely great. We can see that our wastewater is actually growing and our water is not shrinking. So we have infinite water. I don't know how that works, but we have infinite water. So that's good. Because once we actually have positive amounts of water. We're not just recycling all of our water. We're creating new water. Okay, that's wild stuff. Well, we're about 30 seconds away from this burn, and let's get that going. So 210 mark. We'll light that up, and this is going to be about a 2.5 minute burn. So that's a pretty hefty burn, no doubt about it. But this is going to bring us straight from Kerbal to Duna, and that's what we really want to see here. So we can see our carbon dioxide is also growing, and our oxygen is shrinking. So that makes a little bit more sense. But the fact that we are creating additional wastewater while maintaining our amount of water is very interesting. I guess you can make the argument that the wastewater would increase in volume and or mass because of the waste products contained within it. And then we recycle that back, remove the waste and eject that. And then the waste comes from our food or something. I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I think you could make that argument for sure. Well, we're about 1 minute and 45 seconds away from completing this burn, and this is going to be very sensitive once we get here. We're just roughly trying to get to this position. It doesn't have to be perfect. So this will be absolutely fine for now. And we should have no trouble getting here. The real question is, how much maneuvering are we going to have to do once we get there? But this is going to be very efficient, both in terms of time and delta V, because of the transfer window. So that's very convenient for sure. Still about another minute on this burn. Let's go ahead and physics warp this a bit. And let's just cruise right on through here. So about 300 meters per second to go. 200 meters per second to go. We're in a hyperbolic orbit at this point, and we've got under 10 seconds of burn time left. Okay. This is going to be very, very sensitive once we get in here. So I'm going to turn that engine off. I'm going to thrust limit this down to 0.5% of thrust, and we're going to cruise through the rest of this. Oh, this is very, very slow. This is going to be like 4 minutes at 0.5%. Let's move this up to around 10% thrust. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, 0.8 meters per second, and you can see we're not even close at this point. So I'm chasing the node a little bit, and we're just going to gently, gently, gently bring that in. We want this to be fairly accurate, but this is probably going to change when we warp. So that's going to be exciting. Okay. I cut the throttle for now. I want to continue to burn in over this direction. Hang on. We need to actually make our way around to the node. This is the wrong direction at this point. So we need to make our way to the node and just get ourselves in position here. This is 0.5 second of burn time at this point. And yeah, this changes a lot, whether we're in physics warp or not. So that's exciting. Okay, we're going to have to call this good. And then adjust this once we're out of the Kerbal system. That's going to be the plan here. So what we need to do at this point is focus back on Kerbal. There we go. And I'm going to warp us. So we're going to manually warp. And we're going to escape from the Kerbal system. We have our encounter, and in theory it still exists. Yes, it does. And now I want to make adjustments. So we're going to go here, which is like in an hour and a half. So that's enough time for us to be able to get some alterations made here. So we need to come in over here. We need to grab that maneuver node. And we need to make some significant adjustments. So as you can see, that's giving us that Ike encounter that we previously had. I want to work a bit on the prograde retrograde here and see what this does. Can we go the other way? Where does that Ike encounter start? There? Oof. Okay. Well, we're going to be not particularly tight here, but we can at least come in fairly equatorially. And coming in equatorially like that is fine for the moment. We'll make adjustments once we get here. So that seems fine. Let's align to that node, and this is a 1 second burn. I'm not going to bother warping forward the hour and a half here. All we need to do is position and burn this now. It's completely fine. This is such a long period orbit that that hour and a half is not going to make a significant difference. So let's just bring our inclination right on in here. Little further, that'll do. Okay, we'll just go with that. At this point, our next move is going to be a retrograde burn right here, and that's going to be a pretty significant one. And the idea is going to be we just bring this down to about 50 kilometers. So that's going to be somewhere around there. That's maybe a little too close. Maybe, like, give ourselves a little bit of a buffer, like a 100-meter buffer. Sure, something like this. That'll be fine. We'll align to that node, and we're going to need to get to that. I'm going to quick save here in case anything breaks horribly, and we're going to start warping to this. This is going to be in 201 days, but it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we'll bring this thing down in Duna, and that'll be absolutely fine. But I'll do the warping off camera here. Let's just start the warp here, and we'll see if this significantly changes. Hopefully, it does not. It did not. Wait. What just happened? Our encounter vanished. Oh, it's way back over here now. Okay, so this did significantly change on us. That's okay. We've got plenty of Delta V. This is not the maneuver we were expecting. In fact, I believe we're now coming in the wrong direction. But that's okay. We can bring this down, flip it around, and have it be something a bit more like this. Now, that's giving us another Ike encounter there, but we don't care. That's on the other side. But we can then do something like this. That's a little too low. Okay, I keep overshooting this. Let's do something like that. Okay, align to that node, and now hopefully this doesn't massively change when we start up the warp. That's the dream anyway. So this is going to be going this direction now, I believe. We're coming in this way, but we're flipping the orbit. It would go this way, but we're then going to go this way because of the orbit flip. So that seems fine. I'm going to manually warp us forward a bit here in hopes of not changing. And then once we get up over 1,000, that's 10,000. Now I'm going to auto warp. Okay. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the... Actually, Roarnaz, I'm sorry, I almost forgot you there, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time. It probably would have been more efficient to fix our orbit where we were before warping, but we've got plenty of Delta V. I'm not worried about it.